I'm Kat from the Wild Alaskan Company recipe team. We are going to be making a really delicious seafood mac and cheese. I've been thinking about it all day. Today we're going to make this with Dungeness crab, but I'll give some options later for non-shellfish or just an alternative to crab if you don't happen to have any in your kitchen. This is a wonderful meal to have in the fridge to stash for a cold, cozy day. It should last a few days in the fridge, like up to 3 is usually what we recommend. It's a really great lunch or dinner option, or possibly breakfast if you feel extra indulgent. By no means is this a low-fat, low-carb meal. This is just cozy comfort food, and we're elevating it with wild seafood from Alaska. I've got Dungeness crab meat here. The texture is a little bit drier and maybe chewier, so it's going to be perfect for this seafood mac and cheese. 2 packs for the amount of seafood mac and cheese I'm making today. And I have 2 different types of cheese, some shredded cheddar, and then got some fontina cubed up. And these will be melting into a really delicious sauce. I've got a bit of onion. It looks like there's a lot of butter in here. There's some butter. It's about 4 tablespoons. And this is, mind you, for a large casserole dish, but I've got some butter, garlic, and onions just softening in the pan. And this is going to form just a really nice base for the mac and cheese. It's going to have a little bit of sweetness and all of that allium flavor that's going to be really, really savory and delicious when it's mixed with the cheese and the crab. I wanted to just get this started because we have a few steps here. All in all, I think this is probably about a 30-ish minute recipe. About 10 minutes of that, it's just going to be in the oven bubbling away. The onions and garlic look like they're softening up really nicely. So the next thing I'm going to add to this is milk. I have a couple cups of milk and cream cheese. So I'm just going to pour this carefully into the pan. We're using a whole milk here. We want all the fat so that we get a really nice creamy velvety sauce. And just a block of cream cheese. And I'll go ahead and get this stirred in here so that it's nice and dissolved. The cream cheese is going to give the cheese sauce a lot of the body. All we're doing here right now is basically getting it melted down into a smooth sauce. It should take about a few minutes to get that going. I have pasta that I've already cooked. I cooked this right before. This is cooked to pretty al dente. We're going to be cooking it in the oven once we have all this stuff come together. And the oven's going to bring all these flavors together and create a nice, thick, bubbling mixture. I'm using this shape, it's called radiatore, but it looks like a radiator, and the little ridges in here are going to really trap all the sauces. And that's what I'm really, really looking forward to. All right, this is looking pretty even. I have some lumps in here, but that's not a problem. We can go ahead and get this to the next stage. So the next stage is where we had some of the cheese, most of the cheese. I am going to go ahead and drop in all of what I'm using in place of fontina. So that's the fontina, and I'm going to add half of this cheddar. The rest of the cheddar we're going to save for topping the macaroni before we put it into the oven, so it has a nice bubbling top crust that gets golden as it bakes. So just give this a stir, and the cheese will melt in just a few minutes, just really gradually over medium heat. We're gonna look for a really nice, saucy, smooth texture here. Yum, and it's already quite thick. Really looking forward to putting pasta in here and taking it to the next level. So, okay, about the cheese. So fontina is a nutty, semi-hard, melty cheese. It's a really good option anytime you're looking for something melty. The other cheese I'm using, actually used a mix of cheddars, but something that's nice and sharp. It's good for flavor, adds a little bit of color as well. I think the cheddar I was using wasn't very yellow. It's just a white cheese, but if you want to use a yellow cheddar, then you'll get a really nice golden color to the sauce. Mine's going to be a little more pale, but cheddar is great for this like sharpness and will help balance out some of that nuttiness in the cheese. Let's go ahead and season this up. I'm going to add a little bit of cayenne, just to give it the tiniest amount of heat. It's not going to make this a spicy sauce. It'll just give it a little bit of bite. That'll be really, really appetizing. So I'm adding a little bit of that. Season it pretty lightly with some salt and pepper. And then before we do anything else, we can give this a taste. We'll probably add a little bit more salt in here. And keep in mind that the crab also has its own flavor, kind of adjust it accordingly. You can always add a little more salt later if you need to. Next thing we're gonna do is fold in the crab meat, actually. This is just gonna go in now. I can turn the heat off now because we're just combining components. So the crab meat, you can break it up a little bit. And then to this, I'm gonna add first, we're gonna crack an egg into this. And this will just help set things later. Actually, you know what? I'm gonna whisk this in my little milk container first. All right, so the egg is gonna kind of make this cheese sauce into almost a batter. I could describe it that way. So once it cooks, it'll be really nice and set and thick. And then the pasta can go in now. The pasta, after I cooked it, I gave it a little bit of a rinse with cold water just to get it to stop cooking. And then I tossed it with a bit of olive oil, just enough to get it to not stick. So we're gonna add what was an entire box of pasta into this pot. Get the stuff coated. We're gonna put this into a buttered casserole dish. I think this is a 9 by 9 casserole dish, maybe. Actually. Oh man, that looks and smells so delicious. The rest of the cheese that I have, the cheddar that we reserved, just gonna sprinkle this right on top. As if this needs more cheese. All right, well, this is gonna go into the oven now. I have it preheated, pretty low temperature, like 350. We're just getting it to set and for the cheese on top to get nice and melty. So I'm gonna let that cook for about 10 minutes, maybe 15 if we need it. At least 10 minutes until the cheese on top gets nice and bubbly and until it looks really, really good. So now I'm gonna take a peek at how this is looking in the oven. All right, this is sort of the moment of truth. And it's looking really, really beautiful. All right. There we go. Everything is looking extremely beige and filled with dairy and carbs, plus amazing crab meat. I probably would leave this in the oven a little bit longer because it looks like this cheese is just melting on top. But for the sake of time, this is more than ready to be served and eaten as is. So let me go ahead and serve myself a spoonful of this. Spoon some of this onto a plate. Oh my gosh, this smells so good. I think that the addition of crab meat really makes this extra, extra special. Maybe you don't think of crab and cheese going together, really. It's not like a natural pairing necessarily for you, especially if you're someone who doesn't mix seafood with dairy, but it's excellent. So I'm going to find a piece that hopefully is not too hot. One more thing, so it doesn't look so beige, pretend there's some vegetables in here. Really, really tasty. Amazing. So delicious. All right. Thank you so much for joining me tonight. I hope you can join us next week. I'll be hosting a great event that is perfect for new seafood cooks. We are calling it Welcome to Cooking Wild Seafood. So you're going to learn all the basics from thawing to cooking tips, essentials. We're going to sear some salmon, everything you need to get started on like the right foot. I hope you can make it, and thank you so much. Have a really good night, everybody. Live wild.